I'll never forget that evening. We were walking together down a busy street, surrounded by couples laughing, holding hands, and enjoying the night air. Out of instinct, I reached for her hand, but instead of holding mine, she subtly pulled away, pretending to fix her hair as if no one noticed. To everyone else it was nothing, but to me, it felt like rejection in its purest form. That simple act, her refusal to touch me, cut deeper than any argument we'd ever had. In that moment, I felt a cold distance between us that I couldn't explain away. She smiled, but it wasn't for me. And for the first time, I wondered if the woman I married was already gone. If she belonged to someone else. That night was the beginning of the end, though I didn't know it yet. The signs had been there, quietly stacking up like bricks in a wall I couldn't ignore. She started working late, coming home with excuses that sounded rehearsed. Her phone was always in her hand, but turned face down when I walked into the room. Intimacy, once natural and warm, felt like a chore she avoided at every turn. I told myself I was overthinking, that every marriage had rough patches. But deep down my gut whispered something different. There was a distance I couldn't cross anymore. And every time I reached for her, emotionally or physically, it was like my hand passed through smoke. Still, I didn't want to believe it. Not yet. The real crack came one evening when she thought I was asleep. I heard her voice, soft and playful, speaking into her phone. She laughed, really laughed, in a way I hadn't heard in months. I got out of bed quietly and followed the sound to the living room. Her back was to me, her words muffled, but I caught enough. I miss you too. I can't wait until we're together again. My chest tightened. When she finally hung up, I slipped back into bed before she could see me. But I couldn't close my eyes. Hours later, while she showered, I saw a message notification light up on her screen. A man's name I didn't recognize. Last night was perfect. She told me later it was just a colleague, but the tremor in her voice told me otherwise. From that moment on, I became an investigator in my own marriage. I checked receipts she left in her purse, fancy restaurants she never mentioned. I scrolled through her tagged photos online. Half smiles and captions that didn't match where she claimed to be. One night, my worst suspicions were confirmed. She told me she was working late. Instead, I followed her car at a distance. My hands shook on the steering wheel as I watched her park outside a hotel. She stepped out, dressed as if for a date, not for work. Minutes later, the man from the messages appeared, and they walked inside together. I sat in my car for over an hour, staring at that glowing hotel sign, my stomach twisted into knots. That night, hope finally died. I knew better than to confront her without proof. Betrayal can twist into denial if you let emotions lead. So I gathered everything, the messages I photographed, the credit card charges for dinners, and the photos I took outside that hotel. Each piece of evidence was like a shard of glass cutting deeper into me. Printing screenshots of her words to another man, I felt physically sick. But I kept going. Because if she was going to destroy us, I wouldn't let her drag me into her lies. I put it all together in an envelope sealed tight, and waited for the right moment. Not just for me, but for everyone who deserved to know the truth. That moment came at her parents' house. We were gathered for dinner, her family around the table, the warm clinking of cutlery filling the air. She acted normal, laughing, pouring wine, pretending we were the perfect couple. I let her finish her charade before I pulled out the envelope. I think it's time everyone here knows the truth, I said, my voice calm but steady. The room went silent. Her parents looked confused. She froze, fork halfway to her mouth. I opened the envelope and slid the photos and messages across the table. She's been lying. For months. Her mother's face went pale as she read the words her daughter had written. Her father's jaw clenched, eyes burning with anger. My wife stammered, her voice trembling. It's not what it looks like. But the evidence spoke louder than she ever could. For the first time in months, I felt lighter. The world she built came crashing down in seconds. Her parents looked at her with disappointment so sharp it cut the air. Her mother, tears brimming in her eyes, turned to me. Thank you, she whispered, her voice breaking. Thank you for telling us the truth. My wife buried her face in her hands, humiliated, exposed. She wasn't just my betrayer anymore. She was their disappointment too. She had built her lies in the dark, but I dragged them into the light. That night, I walked away with my head held high. My marriage was over, yes, but the truth had set me free. Betrayal had cut me open, but it also showed me my own strength. The strength to face lies without breaking, the strength to walk away with dignity. As I closed the door on that chapter of my life, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: peace. Because sometimes, exposing the truth isn't just about justice. It's about reclaiming yourself from someone who never deserved you in the first place.